by SWAN. My name is Shirley. I'm SWAN Senior Advisor, and I'll be moderating today's great session. We do have a Q&A box, which we encourage everyone to use throughout the session. We'll do our best to weave in questions throughout the session overall and also in between the presentations. So I think with that, just for the sake of time, we have some great presentations. We're going to go ahead and kick things off. So Shane, if you don't mind moving just quick intro slides, please. I think many of you are already aware we had a record number of abstracts submitted for this year. This is our global annual event that's coming to Tampa, US in early June. We had I think 181 abstracts submitted from around the world that we're really excited to review along with our advisory board, which will help shape the agenda. So again, thank you for all your interest in a very timely focused theme on adapting your digital journey. So we'll drop in also information as part of the recap. This webinar today is in partnership with Arqiva. It's part of our Insights as a Service series. We collaborate on relevant topics across the smart water spectrum, topics that we know are front of mind for many utilities around the world, and we try to bring in those different unique perspectives. So again, we're thankful for you all to be joining, and please feel free to share your feedback, of course, after the event. With that, I think just before I hand things over to Jason from Arqiva to set the stage for the theme overall that we'll be discussing today, we really want you all to have a baseline essentially of the topic of really going beyond metering in terms of integrated sensors. So to help us all have that pulse, we're going to go ahead and drop in here into the chat a Menti, and actually you can also use the QR as well, to just answer a few quick questions on your smart metering and also your multi-sensor data kind of maturity level right now, just to see who else is in this virtual room with us. So with that, I think Shayna, just as live as people are going into the Menti, we're going to go ahead and ask you all to participate in this and show the results live. So the first question you should see here, again, very, very brief. What stage today, in terms of your organization, do you feel you are in terms of your SWAN smart metering maturity model? This is based on the global smart metering playbook that we've collaborated with many of you on behalf of a Water Research Foundation project. I'll drop into the comments what we mean by explorers, intermediate adopters, advanced adopters, and optimizers, so you can get a sense of where you fit within this. Let's hope this works. So there's a little bit more context, even though some of you are already responding, which is great to see. So in terms of the explorers, we'll give about a minute for this question or 30 seconds for this question. You're in that initial discovery phase, you're considering smart metering, you're eager to explore the potential. For intermediate, you're still evaluating the benefits, but you've already had established some initial baseline business case. You're moving from that planning to action phase. In stage 3, the advanced adopters, whether you're moving from AMR to AMI, or whether you're looking on more of that scaling up to kind of beyond the core benefits of smart metering data. And last but not least, some of the optimizers. You've successfully really deployed smart metering a little bit more at scale, and now you're looking to enhance some of that system performance and get more value from your investments, which is going to be a lot of the discussion today, whether you're piloting or already looking to scale up. So you can already see, I think a lot of people are already contributing to this question. You can see here, team, our presenters, where most are falling within that stage 2 and stage 3 as of now. So thank you for that. And we'll share, of course, all these results later, but thank you for contributing. Let's go ahead, Shane, and just move on to the second quick question. Has your organization digitized other assets or sensors? So again, beyond the meter, and that's going to directly relate to the theme that Jason will introduce. So either yes or no, or let's the optimist answer of it's on our roadmap. We just haven't gotten to it yet. Let's give another 20 or so seconds just for people to fill in this. This is really helpful already. Okay, fantastic. What a crowd. And hopefully the no will turn into at least the not yet, right? So that's what we can check later on. Let's give it another 10 seconds, Shayna, and then we'll move on to the last baseline question, and then we'll hand things over to Jason. Okay, I think this is a pretty good indication of the audience that we have here today. So mostly The answer is yes. And then last but not least, in terms of blockers, right? Not everything is so smooth. What has been your organization's biggest blocker in unlocking the value of data from either multiple sensors, if you answered yes to the previous questions, or if you are zooming in on the meters from your existing meters? So biggest blocker in unlocking value, this is an open word cloud. Any answer that comes to mind, we should start to see this slide populated. So let's take again 20 or so seconds for this question. So we're looking at MDMS, then meter data management systems, lack of interoperability, tech solutions price. So cost has come up a couple of times here, the data quality side. We're talking about vendor lock-in, right? The vendor tie-in, proprietary software, cybersecurity, storage. Let's see if any other unique items are, I think people are identifying with the ones in this list. Okay. So I think we have a pretty good baseline. Thank you. Yeah, we're seeing similar responses that are grouped in with proprietary systems, lack of resources, interoperability, and technology. I think that's a good place. Just for the sake of time, we're going to stop. Thank you so much for contributing. And again, we'll share those results. Jason, I think this is a great time to bring you in and essentially go mute myself. Jason here from Arqiva, our partner here on this webinar, is with the Smart Utility Business at Arqiva, focused on water accounts, and he's going to set the stage for the theme, and then we'll jump into the presentation. So Jason, handing things over to you.
Thanks, Shirley. Yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time to join. We've got an excellent lineup of speakers for you today, but before I hand over, I'd like to briefly set the scene for this webinar. So over the past decade, the UK water industry has led by sort of large-scale smart water metering deployments at Thames and Anglian. That's sort of really demonstrated the value of smart water metering. And now almost every UK water company has underway its own program. So smart water metering sort of becoming the digital foundation on which the next phase of transformation will be built. Smart water metering represented the UK water sector's first major rollout of digital infrastructure. But what comes next will be both broader and significantly more complex. So the challenge is now how we avoid fragmented data silos and instead integrate a rapidly growing ecosystem of sensors, networks, and data sources into a single environment that truly supports operational decision making at scale, and ultimately sort of enables water companies to unlock the full value of their data. At Arqiva, we see this transformation unfolding across three main layers. So the sort of data acquisition layer, which ensures that the entire device estate, sort of regardless of technology or bearer network, delivers timely, high quality and granular data. From there, we sort of move on to insight, or converting sort of that raw time series data into day-to-day operational workflows, and over time enabling sort of closed loop automation. That allows you to capture the full value of the data, which will depend on ensuring sort of rapid operational response. For example, a leak identified in minutes still wastes water and money if it takes days to fix. Arqiva's water data platform, which we'll talk more about during this webinar, has been built to support this digital transformation, providing sensor and network agnostic data ingestion, while also sort of enabling enrichment with external data sets, such as meteorological or geospatial information. The outcome of that is a consolidated queryable data fabric that supports higher confidence insights across the entire water cycle. And that's really the focus of today's webinar, moving beyond the meter to a fully interoperable sensor ecosystem. So that context in place, I'm looking forward to hearing from Doug at Anglian Water, who will walk us through the key takeaways from their smart water metering program. We'll then hear from Neeraj and Sohail at WSSC Water about their transition from isolated meter data to a unified data lake that brings together AMI data with other data sets to drive insights and faster decision making. And then finally, Steph from Arqiva will explain how Arqiva's water data platform will be enable bringing together data from a heterogeneous sensor estate operating across a range of communication networks to create a rich data lake from which actionable insights can be identified. So with no further ado, Doug, over to you.
Thanks, Jason, and good afternoon, or depending on where you are, good morning all. Doug Spencer. I've been with Anglian Water now 35 years, most of that time on network operations, science engineering, but the last 10 years I've been leading our rollout and efforts on smart metering. Next slide, please. You'll be pleased to know I won't be reading you through this slide, but it's something nice to look at whilst I briefly pick out. We've been at this about a decade, and I would pick out now, although I'll talk a bit later, how important the proof of concept trials were for us that we ran in 2016 through to 2020. About 20,000 meters, really manageable data sets, really manageable customer interactions, gave us great foundations for how we designed our data systems and integration later on in that river that you see getting through to the very boring, it's all just routine now since 2020 really, in a program that's set up in COVID lockdown and global microchip shortage, and sees us now that the number there is slightly out of date. We're now sitting at 1.4 million connected and working AMI meters. That's about 62% of our customer base. Next slide, please. For those wondering where we are and who we are, the Small Water UK map at the top there, we are out in the east of England, the very dark teal colour noticeable with the bulge of Norfolk and Suffolk on the east of the southern part of England. And that more detailed map shows us by planning zone, shows our rollout. My apologies for the colour scheme, that's a colleague's decision, not mine, but essentially everything in the salmon pinks through to the browns we have done over the last 5 years, and we are now busily getting through the lilacs and purples. Important to pick out, we had a great starting point. We were 90% metered before we started this, so we've only had to get our customers and indeed our colleagues used to the smart AMI part of metering, not just from the ground up, and that's enabled us to hit some of the statistics that we've hit, installing over 1.1 million meters in 5 years in AMP7. That's 1,000 meters a day, every day for 5 years. Next slide, please. So a couple of core things that lead us to how we manage our data and where we see the greatest benefit from our data. We are starting to look at integrating other sensors, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but key for us here is driving down demand. UK water supplies, particularly in the south of the country, are under extreme pressure, and that is only going to get worse. But the smart metering program really requires our customers to engage and deliver these savings by fixing leaks, changing their behaviour. And with the result, we designed our program very much in terms of this has got to fit the customer. It's got to fit the customer's specification. There is a risk with smart metering that you go into this with an operational or asset mindset, and we don't think it will deliver at the same level as focusing on customer. You've got some examples there on the right-hand side of our customer portal, my own property just there. I check regularly just to make sure my team don't get to send me a letter about having a leak. And thankfully no flow in the middle of the night, so no leak there. But that was the first module that we set live. I complained that I needed maintenance modules, I needed performance and reporting modules, and I had to hold my hands up and go, actually no, satisfying customer first, the rest of it we can stagger through and then build it ourselves. All of this we decided to build in-house. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a moment in the 7.5-minute canter that I have about Anglian. One key element for us though, the data systems only work if the data comes in, and for us, network first is key. If you're using public networks, NB-IoT, LoRa, where that's established, and others, well, that's great, you've got network everywhere. But unless you're installing a meter where you have network, you lose that momentum that you get from the customer. We're coming to your area soon, we're in your area, your meter's been fixed, it's now working, go get your data, that brilliant momentum. But you also miss the chance of going, that Doug Spencer, he's a bit of a rogue operator, he's fitted 800 meters in the last 2 weeks and none of them are connected, go and find out what he's doing wrong. Next slide, please. So the key benefits. In the UK, we are a government regulated business. One of those regulators, the Environment Agency, governs whether we can build new reservoirs, new strategic pipelines. That regulator will not let us do that unless we have driven down demand as much as is possible, and smart metering is key to that. So, for instance, we are building 2 new reservoirs in South Lincolnshire and West Cambridgeshire over the next decade or so. We only got approval for that because we have driven down demand with AMI meters. And in my time at Anglian, I spent a decade working in leakage. I know how easy it is to ask certain questions and how difficult it is to answer them. What's leakage at the moment, for instance? Well, our easy questions with difficult answers. How much are smart meters saving us? The problem here is the control that you measure against. You can't go chronologically because of the effects and impacts of weather. And obviously, you can imagine lockdown, cost of living crisis in this country over the last few years has made a huge difference to consumption. So having those control cohorts is very, very difficult. We have methodologies that we're now happy with in terms of leakage savings, and you can see there our customers have delivered. That's 20 megalitres in real term. It constitutes about 250 megalitres of total repairs, but the churn, the natural rate of rise versus repair, we've got 20 meg less courtesy of our smart meters. Next slide, please. Did someone catch? Next slide, please. Hopefully I haven't frozen.
Is it not showing?
No, I've still got key benefits. There it is. So one key benefit in the UK, as many of you will be aware, courtesy of our primarily red top newspapers who decided to go on a feeding frenzy. That's the one. A feeding frenzy on water companies. We are working hard to rebuild trust with our customers. This is our brand tracker, customers being surveyed for us to look at those key elements of how we are doing in their eyes. This isn't actually the most positive set of data that we've had from this, but it is the most recent that was published through and out to us. And you can see in every single parameter there, customers with an AMI meter, I think driven by the nudges, the tips on water saving, the leak alerts and other bits and pieces like that, are far happier with us as a water company, far more engaged with us as a water company than those without. At which point, next slide, please. So hopefully when the next slide appears, it will pick up one or two of the questions. But as I mentioned, our trial was key. Being able to do this at a small pilot scale to learn what you do, how you do it, and prepare for the massive rollout, I can't recommend that strongly enough. MDMS has been a real headache. We built in-house, but actually our MDMS in-house build has so far managed to run for 5 years. It's dealing with 1.4 million meters, 24 reads a day, and is doing a good job. But trying to work out whether that is better or commercial off the shelf is a very, very difficult decision. Customer-driven design, absolutely key to us. And the visualization of stuff like the benefits you are going to get is hugely complicated by that context of, well, what else is happening that's affecting customer consumption and customer demand. Hopefully I've brought that in somewhere near 7 minutes or so. Wasn't watching the time.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. I'm just going to jump in with a quick question for you, and then we're going to continue on with WSSC Water, if that's okay. Alongside the significant investment in the AMI infrastructure itself, what steps did Anglian Water take to ensure the data systems requirements were adequately understood? If you can guide us through one or two quick kind of approaches.
Yeah, and it roots back again to that trial, and I think possibly the advantage that some of us involved in this metering process have also had experience elsewhere around the company, so we know the size of the prize. You can come across places where metering is metering, leakage is leakage, network operations is network operations. Integrating the system starts with integrating the people and having an understanding that this wealth of data that we've got here is going to generate both insight, but it's also going to generate a lot of downstream work. And having that support, we have the periodic price review here in the UK, which very much focuses the mind, and having all of those people in the room to properly bottom out, yeah, it's all well and good, you're going to spend £250 million putting up masts and putting meters in the ground, but we also need to make sure that we can take that data and plug it through to where it needs to be: customer leakage management, network leakage management, all the rest of that.
Fantastic. I think we have time for one quick one. That was perfectly on time, Doug. We have someone here calling your smart meter data lovely. So that's already a fantastic way to start the question. So thank you, Mark, for the question here. How can we use this lovely smart meter data to actually improve the public perception of water stewardship in the UK? He mentions he understands how the data transactionally helps with the consumption insights and the leakage alerts, but can we actually use this data to elevate and improve the public and government relations? Any of your own thoughts on that one? And then we'll move on.
Yeah. In practical and engaged customer and organisation terms, yes, we can. I mean, amongst other things, the reporting of leakage, where the simplistic reports in the press are always X% leakage. All of that reporting at the moment is based on a lot of assumptions in the water balance. There is an allowance for plumbing loss, there's an allowance for customer service pipe leakage, there is an allowance for consumption in unmeasured properties, and so on and so forth. The more AMI meters we get out there reporting actual consumption, the less that calculation is based on assumption, the more it is based on fact. And most of the time we are finding that, okay, unaccounted for water can now be accounted for, because we can see the areas where either network operability is causing the problem, or previously unknown connections, or connections that are using far more than were anticipated. So I think, as well as improving those numbers, improving the transparency of the reporting of those numbers is a first step. And of course, it should lead to better stewardship of our networks, lower leakage, and more secure water supplies going forward.
Thank you so much. Great Q&A so far, Doug. Don't leave us just yet. We're going to come back to you for the open Q&A, but thank you so much. I think we're heading over to Neeraj and Sohail for WSSC Water's presentation. Neeraj, if you're able to join, there we go.
Yeah, can you? Okay, got it. Thanks, Shirley.
Perfect.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So my name is Neeraj Masson. I work for WSSC. And today I'm going to share how centralized data management, which we call our Water Data Hub, helps turn data into insight, automation, and innovation at WSSC Water. I mean, many of you, if you're not in this region, I mean, we are currently dealing with a very rough weather situation. I know our great, utility crews are outside currently in the harsh weather, fixing all the breaks and pipes. And that's actually reminds us like why the data is, the requirement, for those guys to work in the field, so that they can, fix the water pipes and, and bring water into everybody's home. So with that in mind, next slide, please. So just an overview of WSSC. So WSSC Water has served this region since 1918. So today we are providing drinking water and wastewater services to approximately 1.9 million residents across Prince George's and Montgomery County in Maryland. Next slide, please. So just an overview about our operations. So we run at a significant scale. So this includes thousands of miles of water and sewer pipelines, more than 500,000 of customer accounts, and billions of dollars in infrastructure assets that must be managed, responsibly every day. And we are really proud that for more than a century, WSSC Water has never had a drinking water quality violation. So this record reflects disciplined operations, strong governance, and most importantly, consistent, use of reliable data. Next slide, please. So water utilities, across the world, face similar challenges. We all know aging infrastructure, growing regulations, workforce transitions, and rapid technology change. So each challenge, creates more data and complexity, making centralized, trusted data essential, to move from reporting to action. Next slide, please. So this is our strategy pyramid. So, which is like a clear line of sight for us, from vision to and mission down to our individual goals. So strategic priorities define what matters. KPIs shows progress, the initiatives drive execution, and individual performance, that connects our daily work to our organizational outcomes. Next slide, please. So this is the wheel of strategy, that shows, how our planning, budgeting, operations, performance, and, the execution, we do as work as one system. So which turning strategy into results through alignment, accountability, and continuous focus. Next slide, please. And when we talk about digital transformation, so it succeeds when people, process, and technology are aligned around data. So people drive leadership and skills, processes, enable agility and informed execution, and technology provides secure, scalable foundations. So, when aligned, data flows seamlessly, decisions improve, and transformations become sustainable. Next slide, please. Thank you. So before we build, any data platform, it was essential for us to first understand, where our data resides, how it is being used, whether we have all the data we need, and most importantly, whether that data can be trusted. So even more critical, the data we collect must be intentionally aligned with our mission, strategy, and business goals, as I discussed earlier. So otherwise, the data platform simply becomes a storage solution without purpose. So enterprise data management follows a clear life cycle from data creation and validation through secure integration and controlled access to analysis and decision making. And governance closes the loop by continuously reviewing the quality, timeliness, and risk to drive ongoing improvement and trust in our data. Next slide, please.
And can you kindly reach? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I got it. Thank you. Here I will talk about, our data analytics center of excellence, which is a program which we have launched. It is built on a few key foundations. So we start with a centralized governance and a robust data architecture, which is supported by a shared data repository. So on top of that, advanced analytics, clear visualizations, and a strong data-driven culture turn data into insight. So with continuous improvement, ensuring the model evolves as our needs grow. Next slide, please. And clear business success criteria make strategy measurable. So you need to make sure like what are you really trying to achieve, and then bring your data into your data lake or wherever you are hosting it for that particular use of to achieve that business criteria. So whether it is billing customers on time, inspecting assets on schedule, or improving your workforce outcomes. So data allows progress to be tracked and prioritized. Next slide, please. And that's the most important aspect, data governance. It starts by focusing on the systems and data that matter most to the business. So we clearly define critical data elements, assign ownership, document definition and quality rules, and track lineage end to end. So with monitoring, issue management, and regular reviews, governance becomes a continuous cycle that improves trust, quality, and accountability. Next slide, please. So the Water Data Hub platform, serves as our data lake, bringing data from all the sources together into a centralized environment for analysis. So the earlier slides, which I showed on understanding our mission, strategy, and goals, that were critical because that clarity should come first, before deploying any data platform or building governance around it. The Water Data Hub gives us one trusted place to bring data together, integrate across systems, and make it easier to access and share. It enables advanced analytics for deeper insights and creates a foundation for collaboration and innovation across our organization. Next slide, please. So this is our mission, is to serve as a centralized platform for data excellence, empowering the organization to unlock the full value of data-driven insights. Next slide, please. So the Water Data Hub, which we call it, is a cloud-based centralized platform for managing and analyzing our data. It brings together structured and unstructured data from across the organization, securely stores it in a data lake, and enables governed analytics, machine learning, and dashboards, trusting data into actionable insights and business value. Next slide, please. So the Water Data Hub supports a broad range of applications that turn data into operational and strategic value across our organization. So it begins with diverse data ingestion. The platform can ingest and store data from many sources, including real-time IoT sensors, SCADA system logs, historical time series data, ERP systems, and other enterprise external data sources. So this ensures all relevant data is available in one centralized environment. So on top of that foundation, the Water Data Hub enables AI and machine learning by providing centralized governance source of quality water data that supports advanced use cases such as could be leak detection, demand forecasting, water quality monitoring, and predictive maintenance, helping teams move from reactive to proactive operations. This platform also supports processing unstructured data, allowing insights to be extracted from documents, images, text, audio, video, emails, and sensor logs. So this unlocks information that traditionally sits outside structured systems and allow AI models to detect patterns, anomalies, and trends that would otherwise go unnoticed. So for example, we process our call center customer calls for sentiment analysis purpose. We process part and asset pictures for image detection, which is used in inspections and part ordering in our warehouse applications. In addition, the Water Data Hub powers process automation by serving as a reliable, centralized data source for downstream systems. This enables consistent and timely execution of automated workflows, alerts, and decision processes across the organization. For example, processing any incoming attachment through emails and bringing data into data lake for downstream processing. This data is also used to create visualizations and BI dashboards by serving as a reliable, data sources. Also, Water Data Hub enables digital twin applications by aggregating and correlating data from multiple sources to support real-time monitoring, simulation, optimization of physical assets and process. So we have, performed a couple of digital twin applications like for our warehouse management, for our simulation, for our water main breaks. And that data all comes from the data lake. So these are like some of the applications, we have deployed based on our centralized, data management system. So at its core, the Water Data Hub, help us start the day with clarity, so our teams can act faster, decide smarter, and deliver lasting value to the communities we serve. So that's it from my side, Shirley. Back to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just want to make sure there was anything on Sohail's, or that's later in the in the Q&A.
Yeah, I'll give back to Sohail. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
All right, thank you, Neeraj. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sohail Moinuddin. I'm the division manager here at WSSC Water. I manage WSSC Water's billing application and also responsible for managing WSSC Water's AMI pilot. We are currently in process of running a pilot for our AMI implementation. We have shortlisted about 4,000 customer accounts to run this pilot. And going back to the earlier point, how important a proof of concept is, WSSC Water is currently on that path to basically run a proof of concept, understand all the existing processes and where we have gaps in our business processes and improve it before we put a final RFP out. All right. And following up on what Neeraj has showcased, I'm going to demo a small portion of our water data hub. We will be showcasing a dashboard that basically tracks our continuous flow. So I'm going to share my screen, Shirley, if it's okay.
Yes, sure, please do.
All right. I need a confirmation that you all are able to view my screen.
We can start. Yeah, we can see it.
All right. Thank you very much. So this is our continuous flow dashboard. We already have a AMI head-end system that is reporting this data. But what WSSC Water is doing is utilizing this data to make it operational. The first question is why continuous flow matters. Continuous flow basically means continuous use of water over an extended period of time. How it helps us is in determining if there are potential leaks at our customers' properties, avoiding our customers from having a high bill, or potentially allows WSSC Water to mitigate increased complaints when it comes to high bills. It helps us avoid water loss and basically increase operational workload if not prioritized. So with that in mind, I'm going to showcase the data. Quickly going to load it. And going to walk through this particular dashboard. So what we have done is we have taken the continuous flow event monitoring from our AMI head-end system, and we have prioritized it by tiering it. Basically, there are 3 tiers for this data. Tier 1 is potential leaks or very high confidence leak. Tier 1 is basically defined as something that has a 24-hour minimum flow of equal to or greater than 5 gallons per hour, or has a 24-hour volume of greater than 500 gallons, or we are noticing continuous consumption for more than 72 hours. If a particular account follows into this particular bucket, we would tier it as tier 1, suggesting that there is a high confidence of leak. Tier 2 is a likely leak, which kind of prioritizes for us that we need to reach out to this customer within 48 hours. This is basically detecting a continuous flow of more than a gallon for 24 hours. And tier 3 is basically review and validation. These could be false positives or need further review before we reach out to the customers. So this data has been taken as of 10:30 this morning, which is probably 8 minutes back. Based on this, we have 57 active events with open statuses, i.e. we have noticed 57 accounts that are having continuous flow. This translates into approximately 14,000 gallons of water at risk in a 24-hour period for us. There are no critical cases. Let me quickly define the severity as well. We treat critical as any account that has been using more than 1,000 gallons per day. If you are ranging between 500 to 999 gallons per day, we rank you as high, and medium is 200 to something less than 500 gallons, and anything lower than 200 gallons per day total consumption, we treat it as a low severity. So we don't have any critical case. The average duration for these 57 open incidents is 175 hours. So, on an average, we have noticed this continuous flow to run for 3 days, for example, or more. So that's the average value. We have 43 events that needs attention because they've been running more than 72 hours. So this has been a significant consumption. And we are also confident that we'll be able to reach out to all of these customers because we either have their email and or phone available. The next item on the dashboard is listing our top priority case. We have masked the actual customer information, the address, and the endpoints that is being used. But this kind of shows you the highest priority on our watch list as of now. This particular account has a 37 gallons per hour flow rate. In a 24-hour, they have consumed 920 gallons of water. The duration of this continuous flow has been observed for 50 hours, and the minimum flow that we have noticed in an hour is 4 gallons. This is the endpoint information, and we know that this particular customer is outreach ready, i.e. they have a phone or email available for us to reach. So this is kind of a visual presentation of one of the most high priority case for us. Moving down, we have a map distribution of the alerts, kind of showcasing in our distribution area where these incidents are happening. And given the weather conditions for last 4 days for us, we might think some of these continuous flow could be due to the weather condition, because people, out of abundance of caution, might be leaving their faucets open with a small drizzle so that the pipes don't get frozen. That could potentially play into this data. So the map kind of shows, the user using it can click on it and go to a specific or zoom to a specific account, kind of look at it and say, okay, in this example, this is again an active case which falls under tier 1 with a consumption of 563 gallons used in a 24-hour with a minimum flow of 12 gallons per hour. The duration has been 125 hours. There is an event timeline playback here, which I can run and kind of shows how the events are being created or happening in our territory. And you can clearly see the events are growing since we started tracking this, which was at the beginning of January of this year.
Sohail, thank you. Just for time, is it okay if when we'll come back for the questions and then you can pull some of this data back up? Is that okay on your end? Okay. Thank you so much, Sohail. Just want to make sure we also have some time for questions and also the last presentation, but that was really, really helpful to see. And then we'll invite you to bring that back up. So last but not least, I know there's been some questions coming in. It was a fantastic presentation. Thank you for showing us also the dashboard and kind of where you are on the pilot side. I'm going to move things on to Stephanie for Arqiva, and then we'll come back to some of the questions and anything that we didn't get to. So Stephanie, over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Shirley. So hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Edmonson. I'm the Senior Product Manager at Arqiva, focused on our data and analytics product portfolio. So if you can move to the next slide, please. Here at Arqiva, we have a rich history of providing critical data, network and communication services, and actually not just to utilities in the UK, but also across media and broadcast in the UK and abroad. And delivering 150 million data points daily is actually just where we stand today, and only in utilities. So for anybody who is based in the UK, if you were watching the BBC or turned on your radio today, you were being served by Arqiva. So we have a strong legacy of supporting critical national infrastructure. And that means that actually at the heart of everything that we do, we have a really strong security team, network management team, and data team kind of all working to improve what we're doing. So if we can move on to the next slide, as we've worked with kind of different utility companies and as metering and sensoring options have continued to mature, we've seen a few key challenges emerge, namely in the management of that growing data from different systems and the knock-on of how to actually empower everybody to confidently engage with that data. One of the kind of pieces that's within that that's really easy to quantify, I suppose, is the amount of data. So moving from AMR to AMI data levels has a significant impact. Of course, you saw from Doug's slides alone the millions of points of data that they've seen increase over the years as they've ramped up their AMI metering. And then as we think about what's coming after metering and looking at smart sensors, that's a market that's beginning to mature and starting to send more real-time data. So yes, of course, there's data loggers where data is being uploaded, but looking at that kind of real-time move to data and having all of those additional data points coming in, that just kind of compounds that issue further. And of course, that's been highlighted a few times here. But we're also seeing issues like limited use of that existing data or data silos. So not just data availability where not everybody's aware of what's there, but there's a lot of duplicated effort where the processing of data is being done multiple times for different systems, and you start to get systems that are telling you different things, and just based on the way that it's being processed. So just kind of looking to address these things with our history of being able to handle the data, and how could we help utility companies. So, you know, it wouldn't be a surprise, obviously, for anybody to say that, you know, that, that data can be a differentiator. So we all, you know, we're here because we know that. And so it was, you know, how can we help with that? So if you move to the next slide, similar to what we heard actually just there from WSSC, our approach at Arqiva, not only to support our customers, but also our own internal operations, has been to create that central data platform, which is framed by the needs and language of the water industry. And of course, we've heard multiple times now, scalability is key, but it's not just about scaling up with individual data points, but also being able to scale up with devices. So having a platform that's agnostic of the device type, of the network, of the supplier, being able to standardize all of that data from the different types to a single format, so that it's usable, and being able to capture different sensors and putting those side by side, loading in legacy data, you know, all of these things were kind of strategic basis for how we built our water data platform, as we call it. So it allows a consolidated output rather than having various dashboards and views and siloed insights. We can create that consolidated output. Data cleansing is, you know, really a strategic point of this. And our focus there was, rather than trying to fix bad data, how do we prevent bad data? You know, it's a lot easier to prevent than to cure when it comes to data, because by the time it gets through your systems, often it's so embedded that it's difficult to weed out again. So having those data checks in place as close to source as possible, and ensure any errors are being flagged and fixed immediately. Another core piece of our platform has been this build once, use many approach. Means that validated data is ready then for whatever system requires it, without any duplicated ingestion or cleansing efforts. In our case, that's for use for, yes, our own data products, but also for output to customers' systems. So, you know, it wasn't about our platform, our tools. It was about that consolidated data that we could then output to our customers' asset management tools or operations tools, or even directly into their customer management systems. Another key principle informing our platform was to enable the creation of relationships between disparate sets of data, so allowing analysis of a truly connected network, not just the individual data sources. So, you know, one example that we often talk about is being able to layer meter data with your sewer level monitors, with the weather and topology information for a clearer view of the relationships and impacts, to enable that more proactive maintenance and management. And actually next week we'll be releasing a white paper along those lines of kind of what we're doing with advanced data analytics. And that'll be released through the British Water Data Conference next week. That kind of goes into more detail about what we're looking at there. But ultimately our platform is built to be a standalone solution, but also to be able to integrate and consolidate or simplify or enhance what already exists for the water companies. In order to achieve that, we have built some of our own tools. So if you go to the next slide, and these sit on top of that platform. So again, they're all using that same cleansed data. So there's confidence in what's underpinning the insights that are showing through here. And of course, you know, we've built these to try and address some of the key issues that we're seeing in the water industry. But the real drive is kind of understanding the data's full potential behind them. You know, there's something about a visualization that, you know, can be difficult to know what you want until you see it on a page. And it really helps to drive that understanding of what's possible. And, you know, so the point being, not just the tools themselves, but from getting an early understanding of meter performance keeping assets operating at peak performance. As I mentioned, we're using it for our own operations to be able to see patterns and trends across our network and get ahead of issues, to be able to confirm, compliance with regulatory requirements and finding those operational efficiencies. And of course, as always, as Doug mentioned, keeping the customer engaged, keeping them at the center and at the core of what's being done. So being able to give them data that they can trust and interact with. And for each of these tools that you see, we're using multiple data sets. So we're doing what we say as well. So they all are underpinned by at least 5, if not more, different data sources coming in. And for some of our tools like customer side leakage detection, yes, again, we have a dashboard, but we also have an API that we can send, those operational, send that data to operational tools or direct to a customer engagement app, for example. And we're using advanced analytics to support these tools, to make interaction easier, but to make our predictions much earlier and more accurate. So we've built it based on machine learning. It characterizes the water usage, and while the start point has been to flag leaks, what we've actually tried to do is set that foundation, which will allow us to advance into new areas. So not just is it a leak, isn't it a leak, but also looking at leak propagation. Is it a leak that's growing? Is it a leak, or actually is it just behavioral change? Thinking about what WSSC was saying about the weather right now, is that just somebody turning on their tap to make sure that it doesn't freeze up? So things like that, but also looking at non-households. Can we start to understand a non-household pattern of use that allows us to then actually identify leaks? And ultimately, I think we've all said the same thing, right? It's not just about the data. The data is key, but it's actually about keeping that end goal in mind. So if you go to the next slide, it's really about focusing on the outcomes, not just the outputs. Connected devices are great, and they enable that level of granularity that allows us then to analyze the data, turn that into insights. But the key is what then is done with those insights. So hopefully building the confidence in that data that allows your operational teams to act on it, not just confidently, but obviously the more confident they are, the faster you'll want to be able to, or you'll be able to act on that. And each stage of this process should build transparency and trust in the data, again, so that operational teams can use it to their advantage, and it overall improves everybody's outcomes. If you move to the next slide, just a brief word about kind of where analytics is going. There's certainly a lot of buzzwords out there, and I'm pretty sure I put most of them on the slide. But advancements in data analytics, data science, it has the potential to bring a level of not just support, but automation. Now, I know that this always makes people really nervous. We're not trying to take kind of decisions away. It doesn't mean you have to, immediately jump on the agentic bandwagon, but having the right tools in place to allow steady progression. So at each stage, you're building that trust and getting more comfortable with, kind of what's coming. So if you move to the last slide, the industry is obviously collecting more data than ever. Digital ambitions are really high. Everybody's here today for that reason. So what we've aimed to do is build that flexible data platform, have unified outputs, and certainly analytics that are designed for real-world decisions, to help water companies turn their data into something that genuinely changes the way that they work. Thank you. Over to you, Shirley.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for keeping that concise. We don't have too much time, but we have a lot of questions. So we're just going to go right into it. If I can ask all the speakers to just go back on video, and we can actually stop sharing the screen, Shana. Thank you. We'll just dive into some of the questions. There was one back from John Arman just after Doug presented, but I think it's relevant for everyone to try to take a stab at answering. How can water utilities avoid creating new data silos by using different technologies as they look to expand from smart metering to the broader sensor ecosystem, while retaining that flexibility and avoiding that vendor lock-in? I remember we were brainstorming some questions surrounding, fragmentation. How does that change? So, and interoperability. If anyone wants to take this on as you're looking to move kind of beyond the meter.
Yeah, surely.
Go ahead, Neeraj.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very common, challenge which can happen in any organization if they are not disciplined, right? And then you will create these data silos. So, as I earlier discussed, in my slide, as a corporation, as an organization, first you need to look at your own strategies, what your mission is, what your vision is, and what are the outcomes you are actually looking for. I mean, I'll just give you an example. In our company, our GM always says we have to reach to that one North Star, right? To that one North Star means everybody has to come together and they have to achieve their own business goal, which, we call it like baby North Stars. So you understand what your business outcomes are. And again, when we talk about data governance, right, you don't have to govern all the data. I mean, if you really, want to get the value out of your data, focus on the data what you really need. So don't try to go big bang. Start small, identify what are your biggest challenges are, and bring the data what you really need, right? And that one of the slide I talked about, like, understand your business goals, backtrack, identify what are your critical data elements, and then go on those so that you don't create a data silos that people end up creating in different departments. So one common goal is essential. Just my perspective on this.
Also relates to prioritization question we received. Doug, Stephanie, do you want to take a stab or should we go on to the next question? We have more.
I think
we'll keep going.
All I would add is that I think Neeraj covered it in his very first slide. It's about the people in the organisation. And if your organisation is integrated, the leakage, speak to metering, speak to data exploitation, speak to networks, really speak, sit in rooms and collaboratively work, then you'll be absolutely fine. If, on the other hand, you sit in different buildings and you only interact via email and business plans, then you'll inevitably fail.
Thank you. We'll go into a question I think relates, Doug, back to your presentation. You were talking about kind of this network-centric approach. There's a question here from Wayne Flanagan on how do utilities such as Anglian and WSSC decide on a suitable communications or IoT technology to connect the smart meters? Your approach on running multiple trials, if you want to touch on that, Doug.
Can do. I prepped a piece. I'll publish. I'll post it as well. No, Wayne, we didn't run competitive tech trials. We looked at our trials were all about what can this technology achieve with customers. Some of the other water utilities in the UK did run competitive tech trials. We haven't seen a great deal of value from any of that. Our selection was all about specifying performance through procurement. So when we went to market, we said we want 97% coverage, 99% connectivity, and 95% complete data. Go on then, can you do that? And backed it up with penalty and reward. And that basically sorted the suppliers out. Those that could achieve it carried on through, and it was a pricing exercise between those that couldn't achieve it fell by the wayside. It will depend on what performance you want and you need for your program.
Thank you, Doug. We're going to take one last question for WSSC, and then we're going to hand things over to Jason for just a quick summary. So stay with us for 1 or 2 more minutes. There's a question here about the significant benefits to building the data hub on the cloud. You made that decision. Can you touch on maybe some of the drawbacks? Neeraj, I think that one's for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't see any drawbacks into that. A lot of our data, I would say currently our data source data still, a lot of data is on-prem, but we decided to go on the cloud is because not all the solutions, are easy to deploy on-prem, right? If you go to some cloud provider, they're already inbuilt, like solutions like AI or machine learning. So all the tools are readily available. If you have to deploy those tools on-prem yourself, so then you are gonna deploy different, tools to manage that data. So the cloud gives you flexibility that, and also like, it's subscription model, nowadays. So basically, instead of buying certain tool, you can use tools on the cloud, based on, your usage, you get billed and all, so that you don't have to buy anything. So that was one of the, you can test and trial things, right? So, I mean, that was our main, goal was to, okay, let's go to the cloud. And so we don't have to reinvent the wheel and, stood up the environment from the scratch. So a lot of available, ready to build things available on the cloud. I don't know, Sohail, you want to maybe say something on that?
Sure, Neeraj, I agree with you. And just going back to the first question as well, Shirley, I think one of the challenges that we will have going to a common data platform is coming up with some standardization. It's really important that, based on what Neeraj has suggested, that we all agree on a common data set that we are planning to showcase and work towards that. And having cloud as a platform makes it much easier for us to do that. And if we need to move away from one provider to other, but we know our standard format, that it makes migration simpler. That's all I'm going to add.
Thank you. No, that's super helpful. I know we have a couple more questions. What we'll do is, I promise we're going to try to chase you all and track you down for a Q&A, and then we'll upload that to the SWAN website so everyone does, we're able to circle the loop on any of these open questions. I do want to hand things over and thank you all for joining us today and for the great presentations. Hand things back over to Jason and Sheen, if you don't mind sharing the slides again. We have one last remark, and then again, we'll send over the recording and the slides in the next couple of days. So Jason, I think over to you, and Sheen, if you don't mind just resharing that last slide.
Cool. Thanks, Shirley. So yeah, just once again, guys, thank you for joining and taking the time today. I hope, like me, you've enjoyed listening to the insights from Doug, Neeraj, Sohail, and Steph. I'm sure the presentations and the Q&A have sort of all provided us all with some food for thought as well. If anyone is interested in diving deeper as regards your BTM requirements, then please check out our tip sheet. That's at arqiva.com/outcomes, or reach out to us at utilities@arqiva.com. So yeah, back to you, Shirley.
I just think we could probably speak for a lot more time, just considering all the great questions. There's some questions about will we see this sector kind of move more into that in-home display, just like gas and electricity in terms of tracking the water usage, and others related to OT. So again, we'll circle back to you all, the speakers, to try to get those answers and then come back. But really appreciate you all joining us in Arqiva for the partnership on this great webinar. To our speakers, Neeraj, Sohail, Doug, and Stephanie and Jason, thank you again for partnering with us on this. And stay tuned for more, of course, Insights as a Service and SWAN programming, highlighted, of course, by that global SWAN conference. So thank you again, everyone, and hope you enjoyed. Appreciate you sharing your time with us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.